Hey guys, it's me, Thelma, and as you can tell from the title of this video, this is going to be a video of me giving you details on how I passed my Nclex in 75 questions. So if you're interested in that, definitely stay tuned. So hey guys, so as I stated earlier, I took my Nclex for the first time and I passed in 75 questions. But what I can say is that it was not easy. And there was a lot of time and dedication and preparation that went into being able to be successful the first time that I took it. So, as many of you who are subscribed already know, I took medical leave at some point during my nursing education journey. And that was because I had to get surgery due to a condition I was diagnosed with at some point. So, but at this point, I had already had friends and close colleagues from the cohort who I had started with. So when I came back, I was a semester behind or with the people who had started a semester after us. So with that being said, I didn't stop being friends with these people or associating with these people. So actually, they graduated in May. I graduated in August. And as a result of that, and me communicating with them and being very close friends with them, some of them are my best friends, I started studying early. Nclex, I took it in October, but I kind of already started casually studying in May. And I think that has a lot to do with the success because just those early periods of studying are kind of, you just trying to figure out your groove and figure out what works and what doesn't work. And I think I had a lot of time to do that because I was doing that at the same time with my friends who were getting ready to take theirs, if that makes sense. So I want to say I started doing casual studying, not anything serious, probably like in May. And with that, we were kind of doing 25 or 30 questions every 2 or 3 days, nothing too serious or anything like that. And I started getting serious, I want to say the last week of August is when I started seriously studying. And with that being said, I graduated, I think August 17th or 18th. So I gave myself a week or and a half to like rest a bit. And it was hot. It was ham. I went ham. I was just strictly studying, nothing else. So I guess the first thing I want to point out is start preparing early. And the next thing after that, like once you've kind of like orchestrated, like you're seriously going to start studying for whether if it's a month or 2 months, just make sure that you've like outlined that specific time. And when I say that, I mean like outline 3 hours within the day that you're going to study. So I didn't study more than 3 or 4 hours in a day. And that's just because I didn't want to fatigue myself. So 3 to 4 hours a day, that's it. After that, do anything else you want to do. Just do not stress yourself out with studying because I think that is something that happens as people get a bit fatigued with studying. So make sure you dedicate 3 to 4 hours a day where you're doing whatever designated review or studying that you're trying to do. Okay, so the next thing that I did after identifying what times during the day that I was going to study like throughout the weeks, I got off of everything, like all socials, no Twitter, no Instagram, no Facebook. I think I deleted YouTube off of my phone. And the reason why I did this is just so I could hone in and like focus. Especially when you're graduating with a bunch of people who you know on social media, it's, kind of nerve-wracking, or it can increase your nerves just knowing that maybe some other people took it and they passed. And not that it like affects your ability to pass, but it's more so the stress or feeling the need to perform a certain way. I don't know if that makes sense. It's just like extra pressure. And I just didn't want that. And also I just didn't want to be distracted because social media is extremely distracting. And deleting my socials, it wasn't like I deleted my accounts, but I just deleted the apps off of my phone. It's something I regularly do when I'm in school, so it wasn't really that big of a deal. But granted, I didn't have my socials from August, September, October. Did not have socials on my phone. Okay, and that kind of just let me just be focused on myself. And I know some people might be hesitant to do that, but I do think it's a great idea. Just removing yourself from things just so you can focus a bit. Okay, so when it comes to resources, I primarily used, I want to say 2 or 3-ish, and I'll explain that. So everybody is familiar with UWorld. I feel like anyone who's been online, like just trying to look at how they're going to prepare for Nclex, has heard about UWorld. There's some people who swear by UWorld. Great, awesome, cool, kudos to them. I started off with UWorld back when I said I was casually studying with my friends, doing about 20, 30 questions a day. And I think it's really good for you to get started with. It gives you very thorough and in-depth explanations, especially on topics if you haven't like seen them in a while. But that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. I kind of felt like it kind of wasn't giving what I needed it to give, if that makes sense. But yeah, UWorld is, I think, just good for the beginning, which in all honesty, when you consider the cost of it, you can kind of do without it. Because I honestly just used it in those first couple intro months before I started studying, and maybe part of August. But what I did actually use was Archer, and I absolutely love Archer, and I can swear by it. I feel like it made all the difference in me performing the way in which I did. Archer's questions are much more similar to Nclex than UWorld. The questions are just as vague as Nclex. The explanations aren't extremely thorough, but to me, what mattered is the similarity to the Nclex. And the thing is, to me, it's that even if the explanations aren't as thorough as you would like them to be, it was enough for me. And if I felt like I needed supplemental information, the thing that I did is I would look it up in the Saunders book. And I swear by this. This is, I would say, the second like resource or material that I use to prepare for Nclex other than Archer Review. And so essentially those are the two main things, Archer and the Saunders textbook. And I want to show you guys what specifically I did when it came to preparing for Nclex using those resources. So what I did to guide my studying is I took a practice exam every single week. And so I'm most likely, from what I can remember, I took my review or my practice exams that I had off of Archer, because Archer allows you to create any number multiple of like practice exams, and that's exactly what I did. So I would create a practice exam and take one every Monday. And based off of how I did off of that, it would like give you like I guess like a score report, very similar to like how you would receive if you did not pass your Nclex. Regardless of if you passed or not, on Archer it'll give you that report sheet, and you can see where you are along the line with passing the exam, or if you were way above the line. And also it'll identify the categories, the types of questions that you got wrong. And so what I would do is go through that sheet, or, you know, that page where it identified like all the questions that you took on the exam and tell you like which ones that were wrong. And so what I would do was identify like the topic in which it fell under. So you can see here, sorry, I'm trying to see, but you can see here, like it was fundamentals, and then the category was safety and infection. And then underneath that, it was the specific thing that question was asking. And that's what I write on the second line. And after that, after going through and identifying all of these questions that I had gotten wrong, I would read, of course, the explanation that Archer provided, and then I would look it up in the Saunders book. And I would like note that here, and you can see that that's what's written on the third line right there. And the reason why I'm explaining this is because I think a lot of people, when they're studying for Nclex, can kind of passively like do questions, and it's great to be doing questions, but the whole, I think, point when it comes to studying is understanding what exactly you got wrong and where you went wrong, whether if it was your frame of thought or how you were thinking, or your misunderstanding of it. So that's why I think it's extremely important to look up the questions or topics that you got wrong so you can better understand what happened. And that's what I did. And I would do this for every review exam that I did. And I think I took 4 or 5 practice exams, and it made all the difference. And I kind of feel just like facilitating my studying like that was better than me just jumping in trying to study any and everything that I could have possibly came across while I was in nursing school. So that's pretty much like what I did when it came to like core studying. So I'm trying to think. So yeah, I kind of just made sure I reviewed and guided my studying in that particular way. And I think it's always better to kind of go about it that way rather than you trying to like be overwhelmed with like, I haven't studied every single body system yet. Don't do that to yourself. And also, I guess like the tip I can give to anyone who's trying to get started when it comes to studying, take a practice Nclex exam. I would say that's the first thing that you should do, because in a sense it helps you gauge where you are and what are your possibilities of passing. I think a lot of people do try to start off with like, okay, I'm gonna just study everything. You can't study everything, and you can't know everything. So take a practice exam, and then after that, review the content that you got wrong. And I don't mean just read the rationales or the explanations, look it up. And if you find it difficult for you to purchase or rent the Saunders textbooks, my best friend Ashley said that, another resource that you can use are your nursing school textbooks. And she's absolutely right, because all the information is in there. Look up the stuff you got wrong. Please, 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 please. Because if you're not, you're kind of just passively going along. And yeah, I think those are like the big things when it came to me preparing for it. Another thing that I think is pretty useful if you find yourself having a hard time with understanding what exactly Nclex questions are asking you, or practice Nclex questions are asking you, this is a pretty good resource, the Nclex RN Prep Plus. And I would say it's pretty good in the introductory phases, when it's like explaining to you how to break down questions and kind of how to approach questions. And I feel like for me, I've kind of always been like more so of a critical thinker. So it wasn't too hard for me to adjust my thought process when it came to approaching Nclex. But I do know a lot of people did struggle with that. And I also still went ahead and read those intro chapters for this, just so I could hone in on that thought process and how specifically I approach Nclex questions. But yeah, that's pretty much all I used. Like I said, I kind of isolated myself a bit when it came to being on social media and other things of that nature. I used Archer and took a practice exam every single week and allowed that to guide my studying for the following week. And also I would look up questions after I had gotten them wrong in the Saunders text. So literally I would spend the whole entire week, those 3 to 4 hours every day, making sure I had gone through the questions. And that pretty much, I think, is what helped me and kind of guided me to success. And I would say that another thing that you can do, if possible, is to try studying with friends. And I'm not talking about your review, like reviewing the content that you have gotten wrong on your practice exams, but more so practice doing questions maybe once or twice a week with a friend who's also maybe preparing or who has already taken their Nclex, and just so that you guys can go through questions together and bounce ideas off of each other, and then come to a decision like unanimously of what you want the answer choice to be, and move forward. And I would say do this in the study mode, not the practice exam mode, so that you can like see immediately if you got a question right or wrong, and you guys can both understand. Because I remember doing that with my friend and my cousins, and just being able to do that in a sense allows you to see things from a different perspective that you might not have entirely considered, possibly, when you're going through questions. And the thing is, you will remember that when you take Nclex. I'm pretty sure there was a few questions I had seen and I was like, oh snap, Ashley said something about that, or Lizzie said something about that. And that kind of also like make sure like that you're not like aloof and like completely isolated from everyone. It kind of lets you have a little bit of social time and enjoyment with with others, while also getting some work done, and you kind of don't feel like an idiot. Because I know there, like initially when I first started studying, I'm like, am I dumb? Like, do I not remember anything? Like I'm gonna be a horrible nurse since I don't know this. But doing like questions with your friends oftentimes makes you like it kind of takes a little bit of that stress off, and you don't feel as stressed because it's like, oh crap, I didn't know that that was the answer, neither did I, how are we both wrong, you know? And it just kind of makes it more fun in a sense. And also another thing I just want everyone to keep in mind is that you don't have to pass in 75 questions to be successful. It's You have up to 145 questions, so don't feel stressed to get, you know, a pass at 75, because several other people pass at different numbers, so please don't feel stressed about that. But yeah, those are all the tips that I have when it comes to how I was successful with taking my Nclex and passing in 75. If you guys have any questions, concerns, or any ideas for any future videos, please leave a comment or a question underneath below, and I'll definitely get back to you guys. So thanks for tuning in.